For some of you, this is going to be like, oh man, this is really basic. And for others, it's going to be like, oh, now I finally get why I do this when I copy and paste this plugin from this jQuery plugin. Oh, now I know what that means. So I want to touch on some of the fundamentals and some of the things, especially that you see a lot in jQuery, and that you might not realize, oh, this is something that happens. It's like, oh, that's why I see these, the curly braces over there. All right, so you have can work. I think I used this slide in another presentation and changed it on the fly there too. But I don't know why it doesn't stay changed for me. In any case, you can work with the following things. Strings, right? What are strings? It's textual content. It's wrapped in quotation marks. You can use single quotes or double quotes. It doesn't matter. They're the same. Unlike with something like PHP where there's a difference, right? Yeah. I don't know about other programming languages, but with JavaScript, they're equivalent, right? This is a string. Right? Hello, my name is Carl. It's a string literal, right? This is a literal string, right? You can create a string as an object, and then set text as with that string constructor object, but no point in doing that. It's silly. Okay, this is the exact same thing. Hello, my name is Carl. Double quotes. Okay, numbers. Okay, you can work with numbers in JavaScript. Integers, floating point, octals, hexadecimal, exponent literal, infinity, all sorts of numbers. Weird things will happen because of octals and things like them, right? And we'll take a look at that later. But yeah, Booleans. Boolean just means true or false, right? True or false. No quotes around that because it is the thing. It's the true or the false, right? Okay. In JavaScript, you can also work with arrays. These are simple lists, and they're indexed, and the indexes start with 0. I know that some of you this morning were saying that like you're into CSS and like you feel really confident with CSS and HTML, JavaScript not as much. And I heard somebody talk about nth child, right? Yeah, was that you? Yeah. Okay, yeah. Well, nth child is kind of weird, right? I mean, it's not weird if you just live in CSS land all the time. But if you're a JavaScript developer, it's weird because nth child is indexed starting at 1. Okay, it's one. CSS selectors are 1 based, right? So nth child 1 is the first one. But if you're working with arrays, if you're working in JavaScript, the first of anything is 0. Okay? And we'll talk about that when we get to selectors. So here's my lovely family. They're all in an array. Carl, Sarah, Ben, and Lucia. Okay? This is another array, right? First one is all an array of strings. Second one is an array of a string and 2 integers that are just random. Don't try to derive any meaning from that. It means nothing. Here's an array of arrays. And each array contains strings, right? So you can nest this stuff, right? I mean, some of this, you might think, oh, yeah, of course, yeah. But, it's good to review maybe. Objects are lists of key value pairs, right? So here's where you have the curly braces instead of the square braces, right? So you have a key or a property and its value. So first name Carl, last name Swedberg. All right. You can also, just like with your array, where you can have an array of arrays, you can have an object with arrays as the values, okay? Or anything as a value, right? You can have a function as a value. Okay. Variables. Always declare your variables. What does that mean? And you know what a variable is, right? It's something that you use to represent something else. Always declare them, because if you don't, they will be placed in the global scope. Okay? They will become properties of the window object, right? And that's not a good thing, especially if you're working on a large project. And what does it mean to declare your variables? It means not doing this. My name equals Carl, right? It means putting a var in front of it, right? Now, if we took away everything else on this slide, right, and we just had var my name equals Carl, and that was the extent of our JavaScript file, that wouldn't really be much better than having my name equals Carl, right? Because it would still be in the global scope. So it's important to consider, where am I going to be using this variable, and how can I contain it to within this place where I'm using it? Does that make sense? Like, I don't want it to leak out into some other file, or to possibly conflict or collide with a variable of the same name in some other place, right? So this is still good. Var my name equals Carl, and then you do more stuff, and then you say my name equals Joe, right? If it's within the same context, then that's okay. We've already declared it. Now we can just keep changing it. We don't have to say var again.